Well, it's that time again. Just fixed a whole bunch of crap on my truck that I needed to get done. That's finally done. Seems to be fixed. So now it's time to dirtbag. A couple months ago, I picked up this bike. I want to say it was 350. I think 350. It's a 82 KZ 750 or a CSR 750. The guy that had it was trying to kind of Harley it out, kind of fake Harley it out. It already has like a tiny little light. It's got some kind of goofy little 8 bars on it. It had a little peanut tank, but this extremely heavy motor is going to come out. It is mind-boggling how heavy this bike is with this tank of a motor in it. It's only a 750, but it's so big. Like, look how big it is. There's so much aluminum there. But I'm actually planning on hooking up this transmission, I hope, which is a Harley FXR. I'm pretty sure. I got it at a swap meet. But anyways, yeah, this would be super easy if I just got this running and made this work and maybe hardtail it or whatever. But it just so happens that my cousin had a snowmobile randomly that he was going to use, and then he decided he was going to sell, as he's done with many things before. So I'm like, oh, 500 snowmobile engine, 2-cylinder, 2-stroke. That would be really, really fun in a bike. So I'm not a fan of torque converters, and plus it'd be way more interesting to hook it up to a real transmission. So I'm going to try to hook it up to the Harley Trans. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if I'm going to have room or what. I ordered a belt drive for it because I only got the transmission with nothing else. I'm hoping the belt drive I got used for it is even going to fit this trans. I don't know. So, and it's limited time. It's not like I have a lot of time to make a mistake and then go just get another one. So worst case, if it doesn't work, I'll probably try to do the torque converter. It's just really boring. How cool would it be to have it hooked up to a real clutch with a 5-speed with a snowmobile? So that's the idea, I hope. I was also looking at this front end, and it is kind of a cool chopper front end. It's fairly long. I don't know if it's stock, but it's pretty long. But then I always lower bikes, so I realized I have basically an entire gsxr front end. So I have this guy sitting here. I have an 0506, I think, gsxr 1000 front end with the front wheel. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I'm like, I have the forks, I have the triple clamps, I have the brakes, I have a wheel. Like, I just have random parts from over the years. And I'm like, man, I could put an entire gsxr front end on this. So I think I'm probably going to do that. It's going to have really good brakes. And then I'm thinking, since it would be so short, it's like something like 7 or 8 inches shorter than this. It would just make the bike so stubby. So, and I always like the look of gooseneck frames. So I think I might take this and move it like way over here somewhere. Maybe, I don't know how far yet. But I was thinking extending the neck out forward and then having the maybe similar rake or a little bit more rake. But yeah, that way I could take the stem and put it, or take the neck and put it wherever I want. And then I am going to hardtail the rear as per usual. But it just has, like, the frame's got such a nice open space for it. And then I can just bring a tube, you know, straight down, extend the back 6 inches or whatever I want, and then hopefully have enough room in here for snowmobile engine will be like around that size. Obviously a lot less of this. It's water cooled, so it'll be smaller. That's the other reason for the gooseneck. That gives me more room for a radiator, which I need. So it'd basically be engine right here, because it's just 2 vertical cylinders next to each other, and then the engine's probably stops like right there, and then I've got a little space here for the transmission to sit. So it'll be belt drive there, and then hopefully chain drive from there to the back, and that's the plan. Alright, it's been a few months. Let's see if it'll still fire up pretty easily. Kind of dragged it out. It is slightly heavy. Is that a choke? I don't know. It might be. At a stoplight, this is gonna be stupid. Oh, okay. Motor's finally out. That was way harder than I thought it was going to be. Really hate Polaris. Hate their engineers. Not only was there some mismatched hardware, but there was no real like consistency with it, and there was a lot of like nut and bolt rather than nut into a stud. So there's spots where it's like, how do you even get a wrench to hold the nut on the other side? Like there's a couple spots, like the engine mounts were like, why would you put a nut on the bottom of the plate and not just a stud? Like, it's so dumb. They made it like as hard as it could be. And just like so many bolts in there were just super difficult to get to. But it is finally out. Man, it just looks so unassuming. It's just not big, little buddy. And it's gonna be even smaller once this is gone. So this is basically not gonna be there, it's gonna be that. It is going to be tricky because of the way the exhaust comes out. So the engine's going to have to mount as far forward as I can. It's going to stick, the exhaust is going to stick way out here, which may be tricky. I may have to tweak something with the manifold. And then there should be room for the tranny. It is going to be tight with the situating the tranny, since it's going to have to be, the sprocket on the tranny is going to be about here, and then the pulley on the front's going to have to be like right there. Can't really put it back here easily because then this is right in the way of the belt from the engine. And then if I inset it to clear the frame, I think the sprocket may be too far over and into the tire, or the chain will be. So I think like right here is the only spot, unless I cut this part of the frame and change it. I'm gonna see if I can get the tranny mounted like right there. Maybe, but that's kind of a short span. Maybe not, it might be fine. It might be fine. I could also mount the tranny a little lower and the engine a little higher and kind of have an angle of the belt. I don't know. I only have like half a dozen weekends. I might have bit off a little more than I could chew. I'm kind of already saying goodbye to the gsxr front end idea, just because I feel like this is going to take a while to get figured out. And not only that, but like then I still have to like get the exhaust, because the exhaust is massive. It's like way out here. It's this really big pipe. So I'm going to have to tweak that, or it's just going to be like way off the side over here. I don't know. And then I still have to figure out get the radiator hooked up, and then I think I'm gonna have to hook up a water pump. I don't know what kind of pump this uses. Okay, there's been countless just really stupid designs with this thing. One of the worst so far that just doesn't make any sense this throttle housing on any Japanese bike, this comes apart in a top half and a bottom half. Of course, why would Polaris do that? That's a terrible idea. This is one piece. But they gave you this convenient cover on the left side, which does almost nothing, aside from maybe lets you get into change this little, there's like a little switch in there. Other than that, I don't see the point of this. The throttle cable can come out without it coming off, and it doesn't help you get this off the bar at all. So this thing won't fit over the wires that are here and connect to the bar heater. So I had to just cut all that out, because like, so if you ever want to take this off, you have to basically ruin your bar heater. Like, it makes no sense. And then, oh yeah, this too, this handle, if you want to take the cable off, I don't think you can get it out of there. There's a little cable on the bottom, and they put a pin with a snap ring on the backside. So that's super annoying to take apart instead of just a bolt, which is what typically a Japanese thing would do. Even better, the end of the throttle cable in here, right there, in the bottom where the housing exits, there's another snap ring there that's like tucked away in there. So if you want to take the throttle cable out, you have to try to get that out off and then back in again on a new cable. Have fun. It's like, good God, I'm glad I don't have to replace this. It's just so dumb. It doesn't make any sense. This has been like one thing after another with this. It's just like, why would you do that? Why would you do this? Like, over and over and over again. And now, to get the choke off, we have this guy down here, which is a little choke lever you pull down. This, as far as I can tell, this big knob thing in the front doesn't serve any purpose. The only thing it's doing a great job at is making it so I can't get this threaded ring off and get the switch out. So I get to apparently push this roll pin out of the side, because I don't see how else you can take this apart to get it off of here. And then because I want to use this, and I have to put it in a new hole, so apparently I have to disassemble that. Like, why? Like, why would you make something like that? Okay, it continues. So we have the oil reservoir, and the water reservoir was right here, coolant reservoir. That bolt was pretty easy to get to, but again, like, this hole, it's a nut and a bolt. Why wouldn't you just put a stud why wouldn't you just weld in a nut, which is how every Japanese thing is done? Then you just have to deal with a bolt. You don't have to get a wrench to the backside to try to get it loose. This one was worse because the fuel tank is right in the way. So, and I had to weasel the socket in through here and then try to get a wrench on it at a horrible angle to hold it. And then now that that's off, this wiggles around, and all it's doing is sitting in that little hole. There's another one underneath this one, but the steering shaft is completely in the way, and I can't tilt it enough to get it out of position and swing out of the steering shaft because the fuel tank is interfering. So I can't push it that way, and I can't pull it up because the shaft is in the way, and this tab is in the way. So I thought, maybe I'll just take the steering shaft out of the way. But oh boy, guess what? This little tab right here, where this bearing or whatever holds the shaft, it's got, for some stupid reason, Phillips head screws on the top. So if you try to take those again, why wouldn't you just use a welded nut on the bottom or on the top or whatever, one side? Again, it's nuts and bolts on everything. I seriously hate this thing. But yeah, if you try to take this off, it'll just spin the head. You can't get a screwdriver in there. I might try with like a little screw bit and holding it with a wrench, which is what I've done before. But like, it's like they just put this thing together, like it goes together fine if you go in a certain order, and then good luck doing anything out of order ever. Like, this is just like the most horrendously designed thing I've ever worked on that I can think of right now. It's just the nuts and bolts alone is just a horrible way to do things. Like, it's driving me insane. It's like literally anything on this I'm trying to take apart is taking at least twice as long for no reason, just because it's a poor design. Like, I'm about to just cut this out, and I'm gonna see if I can get this off. But then these, I'm pretty sure down here on the steering shaft,
they go through, and I'm pretty sure the bolt head is under the sled somewhere. Again, instead of just having fixed studs with nuts, I guarantee you that's a bolt that goes through. Oh, I hate this. I hate this so much. Okay, I'm trying to disassemble this thing, and this is like a spring-loaded like helix funky thing, and I have to hold this together and then hold this so it doesn't fly out with the spring when I pull this snap ring, but it's kind of corroded, so it's not super easy anyway. But it's got this beefy snap ring holding it on, and it bent two of my cheapo junk snap ring pliers. So I had this one, but it was missing the tips. So I used a sacrificial Allen key and made my own little tips for it. Also was missing a set screw, so it's got now a slightly larger set screw. I'm gonna see if this actually works, so we'll see. These are definitely like super dirtbag snap ring pliers. Okay, so this is why I wanted to get these forks out and start kind of mocking this up together, because I wasn't totally sure what I had, but when I started thinking about it, I'm like, I think I have everything for an entire gsxr front end to put on this. I don't know exactly where this came from, but it doesn't match the forks. So my best guess is that these forks are like a 0506 gsxr 600 750. I don't know exactly what this is from. I thought I took this off as a set from another bike and it was the incorrect front end, so I removed it to put the right one on. But this is about 50 thou bigger than this piece of the fork, so I don't know. I either need to get a new tree, or could basically make a spacer. It'd be really thin, but that would totally work too. So that I might just do that, because I already extended the stem to be correct length for the neck. And I already pushed that back in, pressed it back in, I mean. So the top clamp does fit, and it does fit there also. So I might just make a spacer. I'm gonna keep putting it back together and just see what else is a problem. I don't know if the axle is gonna be right. I don't know if the wheel will fit correctly, because I think the wheel is a little bit newer than these forks. So I'll have to see if that works. Okay, things are going pretty well as far as Dirtbag goes. In very typical Dirtbag standard, I have what I've discovered is an 09 to 11 gsxr 1000 bottom clamp, I think, pretty sure. So I've already got an extended stem for it that'll fit the KZ. What I thought was this was actually a complete front end that was all on my, I think it was my 2012 gsxr 1000, but it was the wrong front end, because it has that year had got Brembo calipers and had a little bit longer fork, different fork. So I'm like, I want the proper one. I want the one that belongs with the bike. So I bought that, got rid of all this junk. But I thought this was all together, but apparently this is a 54 millimeter lower diameter, and then this 1000 is a 55, so it's definitely not the right one. I thought this all was one piece, but maybe the guy that did it was kind of a drug addict, so don't know what he was thinking. He had a whole bunch of mismatched stuff, and it was all crashed up when I bought that bike. Maybe he just totally cranked on these bolts to get it to grab. I don't know. That's kind of a lot though, 40 thou to close that. I don't know, so it might have been like that. The top clamp, however, does fit, so that's good. That does fit properly, nice and snug. This is also an 09 to 16 top clamp for a gsxr 1000. This is an 0405 gsxr 600 or 750 fork that was on the 2012 1000, so it's totally different from what it's supposed to be. But I have a 0607 gsxr 600 front wheel which is not the same as the 0405, but it does have the same. I've been researching for a while. It does have the same front bearing size. The axle is different because the hole on the bottom is the same size on both sides of this year, but the 06 up, they moved to a small one on one side, so you have a spacer and then a bolt instead of like this hollow nut that goes inside the fork. So I just got an axle. I'm hoping that that's going to just bolt in. I may have to adjust because that hollow nut is actually basically the wheel spacer as you tighten it. So I don't know that the width is going to be exactly the same. The width of the fork should be the same for this wheel, but I don't know that the axle is going to be the same width as this other stuff because all that stuff's newer. So I don't know. This may not work at all. So I was gonna start getting this kind of set. I want to have the bottom of the frame kind of flat the way it is, probably around 4.5, 5 inches of clearance. And then this is now super downward on the angle. So I want to basically take this guy and move it out to like maybe in here or so. And that'll give me a lot more rake. It'll look better. And that way it'll give me a lot more space in here for the exhaust and the radiator also. I didn't want to cut the rear yet because I have the rear wheel is basically square and centered to the frame right now because it's on the swing arm. So if I leave that, I can use the whole the super ghetto 4x4 method that's sort of straight to align the front wheel with the back. So basically I could set the front end. That's why I was putting this together, because I wanted to set the front end in here and get the wheels both aligned together, and then I could go about cutting and tacking this back, you know, building this out and tacking it back. But now, since I can't put the front end together all the way, I can't really do it. So yeah, I still have to get the jack shaft out of the snowmobile. I have another day tomorrow to work on this thing, so I'm trying to figure out what I can do before I have all the front end stuff to where I can do that. Or maybe I just say screw it and kind of fix the frame in place and move the rear wheel as far back as I want and then just do it. I don't have time to waste a day, you know. I don't. So yeah, I don't know. Continued. This fork is supposed to have a gold caliper, but it has the newer generation Tokiko calipers from the like 06 and up gsxrs. The spacing's still the same. They are supposed to have locator pins here, which this fork doesn't have, but the later Brembo ones don't have those either, and you just basically seat it by clamping the caliper, so I'm not worried about that. The rotors are, I think, 10 millimeters bigger on that wheel though, so I probably will have to put some spacers in here, but that's an easy fix. So I think this whole mess will work. It's like 4 different generations of gsxr in one. We'll see. Cool factor, man. Make it handle worse, just make it completely awful just for the sake of being cool. It seems like I have some sort of welding failure every Dirtbag, so apparently this time it's the regulator. I have not used my tubing bender a lot, and it is very tricky to use in the sense that it's really easy to screw things up and bend something the wrong way or bend too far and then you're stuck. So yeah, I did both of those just now.